The sadness that arises from nowhere has a reason. Even when you can't explain it, it doesn't appear by chance. It invades the chest, tightens the heart, and leaves the soul in silence. But this is not weakness. It is sensitivity. The chosen ones feel differently. They perceive what no one else perceives. They carry a deeper spiritual connection. That is why they feel pains that others ignore. This sudden sadness is a call, an invisible movement of the universe inviting you to look within. It carries a message that only those who are awake can receive. It does not need a logical reason to exist. It comes from the soul. It comes from places the mind cannot reach. And it is exactly there that your strength lies. The world tries to numb, to flee, to pretend that everything is fine. But you were not born to escape pain. You were born to transform it. This is the mission of the chosen ones. Every pain carries a revelation, and when it arrives for no apparent reason, it is because the time has come to access something that was hidden, an old trauma, a forgotten feeling, a truth that wants to emerge. You are not falling apart. You are awakening. The sadness that visits you uninvited is, in fact, your soul asking for attention, asking for healing, asking for light. It comes as a shadow, but within it exists a gift, a new cycle, a new beginning. What seems confusing now will soon make sense, but it is necessary to welcome, to stop, to feel, to allow the pain to speak, without rush, without judgment. Because the chosen ones were not made to silence their emotions. They were made to traverse them. This video is a deep dive into this process. It is a soul-to-soul conversation, a reminder that your pain has purpose, has direction, and has a destination. You are exactly where you need to be, and even if everything seems dark now, remember, it is in the silence of the soul that the light begins to be born. If this message touched your heart, follow the channel. Together we will continue this journey of awareness, healing, and transformation. Because being chosen is not about having less pain. It is about making sense of it. Inside every chosen one exists an invisible universe. Emotions, memories, old pains. All of this gets stored over time. The body keeps it. The mind keeps it. The soul keeps it. Even that which consciousness forgets, the heart continues to feel. They are scenes from the past that remained suspended in time. Unsaid words, ignored wounds, poorly understood moments. All of this goes to the bottom of the chest. This chest is silent. It does not alert you when it is full. It makes no noise. It simply waits until it can no longer contain what it holds. And then, the energy begins to leak. Without you realizing it, the body feels. The mind weighs down. The soul becomes sad. This sadness that appears out of nowhere has roots. It may have been born years ago. It may stem from a trauma you swore you had overcome. It may be from a pain you never managed to name. But it is there, alive, pulsating, waiting to be seen. The problem is that we were taught to silence, to move on, to pretend that everything is fine. And so, we lock the drawers of the soul. But what is ignored does not disappear. It just transforms into shadow. The chosen ones have a different sensitivity. They feel before they understand. They perceive before they rationalize. That is why, when the chest begins to open, they are the first to notice. They feel a weight, an anguish, a nameless pain. This pain is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of depth. It is as if the universe is allowing you to cleanse old layers that are no longer part of who you are becoming. Every stored emotion is a part of you that has been left behind. And now it returns asking for welcome, not to hurt you, but to be freed. Sadness is just the way this memory found to say, "Hey, I am still here." And when you welcome it, when you give it attention, something starts to change. You feel the weight lighten. You understand that you no longer need to carry what does not serve you. And little by little, what was shadow turns into awareness. The chest does not need to be a burden. It can be a portal, a path back to yourself. But it takes courage to open the internal drawers and look at what is inside. The chosen ones possess this courage. Even when they feel fear, they continue, because they know that healing only happens when the truth is seen. And the truth, no matter how painful it may seem, always liberates. Do not blame yourself for feeling what you feel, nor for not understanding where it comes from. The sadness that visits you is a messenger. It does not want to stop you, but to reveal you. It wants to show what needs to be cared for, healed, forgiven. By writing, meditating, talking, or just being silent, you begin to organize this chest. Every gesture of attention is a light that enters. And light, as always, transforms everything. The past no longer needs to define you. It can become wisdom. Memory, when welcomed, stops hurting. And the chest, which was once heavy, becomes light, because you finally looked within. This is one of the greatest strengths of the chosen ones, transforming pain into awareness, and awareness into purpose. You are not lost. You are in process, and every process, when lived with truth, leads to liberation. The body holds what the soul cannot forget, and the chosen ones feel this more intensely. Sadness that arises suddenly, without apparent reason, is almost always linked to something deeper, something that has been stored for a long time. Unresolved memories, swallowed words, fears that have been ignored, emotions that have never been expressed. All of this does not disappear. It only hides. It accumulates, like dust in drawers that we never open. These emotional drawers are within all of us. But the chosen ones, being more sensitive, notice when they begin to open. Sadness does not come by chance. It is a sign that something inside you is asking to be acknowledged. It is the invisible touching the present, an ancient energy trying to emerge, and as uncomfortable as it may be, it is a chance for healing. The mind often does not understand. It seeks a logical reason, but the soul feels. It recognizes that this pain has a story. Even if you don't remember, it knows exactly where it came from. And that is why sometimes you feel a tightness in your chest, out of nowhere, or an unexplained anguish. It is not weakness, it is not madness. It is emotional accumulation asking for release. The chosen ones are those who can no longer ignore, because they have been called to cleanse themselves from within. Sadness is just the beginning of a deep process of transformation. When you begin to listen to this pain more attentively, you realize that it has a voice. It wants to show something. It wants to tell what got trapped back there. It may be a childhood trauma, an unresolved disappointment, an unexpressed feeling. By writing about what you feel, by talking to someone you trust, or simply by allowing silence, you begin to open space. And where there is space, light enters. The chest of emotions does not need to paralyze you. It can become a portal of liberation. But it takes willingness to look within with truth. You do not need to understand everything now. Just welcome it. Just allow what is inside you to be felt without judgment. This alone is an act of healing. The chosen ones have this mission to transmute pain into awareness, to honor what they feel, and to move forward lighter, more whole, more true. The past does not define who you are. It only shows where the wound is. And every wound can become wisdom when you choose to look at it with love. The sadness that arises without apparent reason is not random. For the chosen ones, it is a direct message from the soul. It does not come to confuse, but to communicate. It is a spiritual message that crosses the invisible and firmly and purposefully touches your innermost self. This unexpected sadness is a call. It is neither weakness nor mistake. It is the way your essence found to say, "Pay attention, something inside you needs care." It is not a punishment, it is guidance. It is a subtle sign that there is a part of you forgotten, neglected, asking for light. And because the chosen ones are more sensitive, they are also the first to notice this invisible touch. It is like a whisper from the soul. A reminder that no matter how busy the world is, there is a part of you that can no longer be ignored. Sadness comes not to paralyze, but to reveal. Many try to escape when they feel this. They distract themselves, dive into the noise, pretend they are not feeling anything. But the chosen ones cannot pretend for long. The pain reappears. The soul insists, because the mission of those who have been chosen is not to ignore the call, but to respond to it. Spiritual sadness does not seek to imprison you. It wants to free you from patterns, stories, hurts, and blockages that no longer serve you. It appears as discomfort, but carries healing. It seems dark, but it contains light. And when you stop to listen to it, something begins to align. You realize that it is not your enemy, it is your ally. This sadness does not need logic. It is energetic. It is as if a part of your soul is out of place, and this misalignment manifests as emotion. It is the spiritual touching the emotional. Sometimes you are living on autopilot, fulfilling routines, meeting expectations, being strong for too long. And then, out of nowhere, it arrives, like a silent alert. Hey, you are forgetting about yourself. This is the moment to pause, to silence yourself, to listen, to stop fleeing and start welcoming. Sadness as a spiritual message invites you to return home, to within yourself. It shows you that there are still wounds needing care, parts of you that were left behind, emotions you did not have time or courage to feel. And now they ask for presence. It is not about understanding everything immediately. It is about listening with the heart. When you allow yourself to feel genuinely, without censorship, without rush, you make space for healing to happen. Pain transforms when you give it meaning. And that is what the chosen ones do. They do not waste the emotions that come, even if they seem confusing. They use everything as raw material to grow within. Sadness is often the beginning of a sacred process, a portal that opens between who you are and who you are becoming. And crossing this portal is part of your spiritual journey. Embrace this message from the soul. Honor this sadness that comes so silently but so powerfully. It is leading you back to yourself. The sadness that arises without a clear reason is not just a fleeting feeling. For the chosen ones, it is a message from the soul, a deep sign that something invisible is moving within you. It does not come by chance. It arrives laden with meaning, even when the mind does not understand. This type of sadness is not common. It appears subtly but intensely. It arrives in silence but occupies space. It is a kind of pain that cannot be explained with words, only felt. And when it appears, it calls for attention. For the chosen ones, this sadness is a spiritual message. It is the universe calling your awareness back. It is your soul tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "There is something inside you that you need to see." It can arise in a moment of calm, in the middle of routine, or even on happy days. It does not obey logic. This happens because it does not come from the surface, but from the depths. It comes from the part of you that is connected to something greater. And however uncomfortable it may seem, it is not an enemy. It is a guide, a messenger, It shows you that there is an internal misalignment, a forgotten part, an unhealed wound. And your mission as a chosen one is to embrace this pain with spiritual maturity. While many ignore this type of feeling, the chosen ones cannot. They truly feel. They feel what is behind the veil. What seems to be merely sadness is in fact a summons to stop, to breathe, to feel, and to listen to what the soul is trying to say. Perhaps you are ignoring your emotional fatigue. Perhaps you have buried old feelings. Perhaps you are following a path that no longer resonates with who you truly are. Sadness comes as a spiritual alert. It does not want to paralyze you, but to wake you up. And when you choose to listen instead of flee, it begins to show its true purpose. It teaches you to return to yourself, to look more kindly at the parts of you that have been sidelined. It reveals forgotten memories, suppressed pains, truths that have yet to be spoken. It is an invitation to reconnect with yourself, with your essence, with your truth. It is a process that requires surrender. It requires courage, but also love. Because only with love can you listen to a pain without rejecting it. What seemed like just a bad day can reveal itself as a moment of deep healing. Spiritual sadness brings clarity. It illuminates what was dark. And this is how the chosen ones grow. Through conscious pain, through embraced emotion, through listened silence. Every tear shed with presence is a cleansing. Every tightness in the chest recognized is an opening for something new. When you begin to see sadness as a message and not as a problem, everything changes. You move from resistance to acceptance. And that is where true transformation begins. There is no healing without listening. There is no light without shadow. And the chosen ones know this. They know that every emotion carries a mission, and that all pain, however intense, can be transformed into awareness. So, the next time sadness arises without explanation, do not fight against it. Receive it as a sacred sign. Breathe, feel, write, pray, meditate. Give it the space it needs to fulfill its role. You are not broken. You are being guided. And this sadness is just another way the divine has found to bring you back to your center. The sudden sadness that touches the chosen ones is more than an emotional symptom. It is a shadow that reveals where the light has not yet reached. And like every shadow, it can be illuminated. Not in a hurry, but with awareness, with truth, and with love. This process begins with a simple step. Recognizing what you are feeling, without denial, without shame. Feeling is human. Feeling deeply is spiritual. The chosen ones were created for this. Denying sadness only strengthens the darkness. When you try to flee from what you feel, this pain just hides. And everything that is hidden transforms into weight. Sooner or later it comes back, stronger, deeper. To clarify the shadow is to allow the light of awareness to enter. And this begins with attention, observing when sadness arises, noticing in which moments it appears. What were you thinking? What happened before? Who was around? Even when it seems that there is no reason, there is always a trigger. It can be subtle, a memory, a scent, a place, a word. Sometimes, it is the body remembering something that the mind has already forgotten. Paying attention to these details is the first act of healing. Writing can be a powerful path. It is not necessary to know what to say. Just start. Putting on paper what you feel, even if it comes out messy, illogical. Writing organizes the invisible. It gives shape to what seemed like mere internal confusion. Speaking helps too. A friend, a therapist, a spiritual mentor, someone who listens without judgment. Because sometimes, just saying it out loud begins to clarify what was hidden. Meditation is another portal. Being silent with yourself, even if just for a few minutes, is an act of courage. It is in this internal space that answers begin to emerge. And what was just sadness turns into learning. Spirituality is a beacon for the chosen ones. Praying, connecting with the divine, surrendering what hurts. All of this helps to transmute. Because some pains cannot be resolved with logic, but they can be softened with faith. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to embrace your shadows. Do not flee. Do not blame yourself. You are undergoing a process of deep cleansing. A process that, even if uncomfortable, is preparing you for a new version of yourself. Pain has a language, and when you learn to listen to it, it begins to dissolve. Every time you observe with presence, the shadow becomes a little brighter. Remember, the chosen ones are not fragile. They just carry a broader sensitivity. They feel what others do not feel. They perceive what others ignore. And for that reason, they need more care, more listening, more truth. Do not be afraid to look within. You will find pains, yes, but you will also find answers. And with them will come relief, clarity, and peace. Clarifying the shadow is an act of self-love, a gesture of honor to your own soul. And you, as a chosen one, have within you all the tools to traverse this path, even if it seems dark at first. The light you seek outside is already inside you. It just needs to be awakened. And the awakening begins when you choose not to flee from yourself. Not all pain needs an immediate solution. Some simply ask for presence. They ask that you stay there, feeling, breathing, being. The chosen ones know this. They know that there are healings that happen in silence, in surrender, in acceptance. The sadness that arises without apparent reason. That which comes subtly and deeply does not want to be fixed. It wants to be recognized. It wants to be embraced as part of the process, not as a failure. When you accept what you feel, something begins to transform inside. Resistance weakens, the weight diminishes, and what seemed like a shadow begins to dissolve. Not because it has disappeared, but because it has been seen with love. Acceptance does not mean conforming to pain. It means making space to listen to it, allowing it to say what it needs, letting it exist for a time without the rush to go away, because it has a role. Every ignored feeling transforms into a blockage, but an accepted feeling transforms into wisdom. And this is one of the great strengths of the chosen ones, to transform pain into light, sadness into purpose. Transmutation begins when you stop fighting against what you feel, when you stop pressuring yourself to always be okay, when you understand that feeling is part of the spiritual journey. The chosen ones were not made to live anesthetized. They came to feel, to access internal dimensions that many do not even imagine. And through this sensitivity, discover new ways of living, healing, and teaching. The pain you feel today may be exactly the door that will lead you to a truer version of yourself. It may be the call to let go of what no longer makes sense. It may be the beginning of a new cycle. Accepting pain is an act of courage, and it is also an act of love. You tell yourself, it's okay to not be okay. And just that phrase is already a relief, a permission to exist, even with imperfections. Over time, this acceptance begins to open paths. You start to notice patterns. You begin to understand what you carry that is no longer yours. You begin to return what does not belong to you. And this movement is subtle but powerful. Transmutation does not happen all at once. It comes gradually, in layers, in cycles, sometimes with tears, sometimes with silences, but always with truth, always with presence. And this sensitivity is what distinguishes the chosen ones. You do not feel more because you are weak, but because you are more awake, more connected to what needs to be healed. Pain does not come to destroy you. It comes to transform you. It comes to reveal parts of you that were forgotten. It comes to open space where there was once resistance. It comes to teach the art of listening, of silence, and of presence. And when it returns, you understand that each tear had its role. Each silence held its wisdom. Each pain brought you closer to your truth. Therefore, trust your process. Honor your journey. Embrace every part of yourself, even those that still hurt. Because accepting pain is allowing healing to begin. It is letting the soul reorganize and flourish. You are not alone. There are others like you, crossing their own shadows. And by sharing what you feel, you help illuminate the path for someone else. If this message touched your heart, comment below. Share how this sadness has manifested in you and what resonated most in this content. Your words can be a light for another chosen one. The journey is deep, but you are ready. And remember, even sadness has a mission. And your soul, even tired, still knows the way back to the light.